Good morning. This is Cindy Shaw coming to you live from Just Pray Over in beautiful Tennessee. It's a gorgeous morning outside, and I have a guest speaker here. His name is Pastor Troy Shaw. He is my husband, and we're here to talk today because we had a listener ask us how we met and how I found my husband and how I found everything I wanted in one person. So we're going to try and explain that. And I'm going to let...
Well, there's no way to explain everything in one person. That's all God.
Absolutely. It was definitely all God. But I'm going to let Pastor Troy talk a little bit about that. And hopefully he can explain to you how it all kind of started.
Well, we actually started communicating on an online dating site. Ladies, this is not something I would recommend. If you're going to do it, be very, very careful. And gentlemen also, because I learned the hard way too. I think Cindy was fortunate that she only had to deal with one person, me.
Yes.
But I did deal with several loony bins out there that it's not even important enough to even go into. But at any rate, Cindy had messaged me on this site, and I thought about it for a day or two because at this point I was fed up with the whole dating thing anyway. I didn't want to do it anymore. My subscription was about to run out, so why should I drag another victim into this with myself? But I contemplated. I read the message probably 7 or 8 times. And then I said, what the heck? She sounds like a very nice person, so we'll see. And I sent her a message back, and it took her a day or two to answer me because of the rough times that she was going through at the time, which I knew nothing about till later on. But at any rate, that would be her part of the story that she can tell you whatever she wants to share with you on that one. After a few times messaging on the dating site, we exchanged emails and started emailing each other. And then after probably 2 weeks,
2-3 weeks,
she gave me her phone number, and I called her. And little did I know that was going to lead to several hours on the phone just in that 1 week. One day, 8 hours exactly on the phone. But she, like I said, she was going through a very rough patch at the time, and that particular day was just very trying on her, and she needed somebody to talk to, and it wound up being 8 hours. And then during that 8-hour phone call, she also asked me if that was a cigarette I had just lit, and I told her yes. And I said, "Is that a deal breaker?" And she said, "Oh yeah." She is allergic to cigarette smoke. She doesn't like the smell of it, and she has a very acute sense of smell. So I quit smoking. I've been quit over a year now, and very proud of that because that's something I smoked since I was like 12, 13 years old, and I'm 62 going on 63 now. So that was kind of a big victory in my life. And but when she told me it was a deal breaker, I had not seen her yet, so I didn't even know what I was getting into. But then it came down to, after talking on the phone for probably 2 weeks.
Longer than that.
Well, from the time we met until we met in person was about 6 weeks, I guess, 6-8 weeks.
Yes.
But then we made the call to meet in person, and I drove to where we live now. I drove over to her house to meet her, and it was probably an hour and 15-minute drive.
Yeah.
But it was worth it. It was well worth it. So now she can share some of her experiences leading up to that day.
Well, I had come here to take care of somebody who had polycystic kidney disease, and they were in the latter part stages, and I was in the hospital, and I didn't know anybody here other than, the guy at Home Depot that was selling me parts to glue this house back together, the handyman that was gluing the house back together piece by piece, the doctors and the nurses. That's all the interaction I really basically had, because I was literally living in the hospital. And of course, the neighbors across the street who was helping me with the dog. And I sat down one day and I just said,
We keep mentioning the dog, but we've not really talked about Kingsley.
No, we haven't talked about Kingsley. He said he was my helper. I mean, he saved me through all this. I talked to the dog all the time. The dog just didn't answer me, but I think he knew everything I needed. He was always right there sleeping next to me and taking care of me. And I decided, I just wanted somebody to sit down and talk to and go out to dinner with. I wasn't looking for anything more than that. I was just bored to death. I needed a friend, and I needed somebody that I could trust. I knew they had to be godly. And I said, you know what? I'm going to write down everything I want in a man. And I know this can never be filled, so I don't have to worry about it. I know God can never fill everything I want. So as long as I put every single thing down, it will never be obtainable. So I made this list from the top of the head to the toes. I said, he has to be a godly man. He has to love God more than he loves his wife. He has to have a cowboy hat on. He has to have salt and pepper hair. He has to have cowboy boots, the buckle. He has to have a cowboy shirt, blue jeans. He has to, the whole 9 yards. I mean, everything. You just would not believe how detailed. He has to be handy with his hands. He likes to work around the house. He has to do, I made it, he has to have a pickup truck. I made it so detailed.
Corduroy coat with patches on
corduroy coat with patches on the elbow. It was so detailed that I knew there was just no way God could fulfill this man. So I took this letter, I folded it, and I put it in my Bible, and I left it there. And I kind of forgot about it. And when we were emailing each other, I would question him about a few things. And a lot of the things that we talked about were basically the Bible. It was very Bible-based. And I found out he was a pastor, and he actually said, well, would you like me to send you my resume? And I said, that's not necessary, but he sent it to me anyway. And I thought that was really cool. And it kind of calmed my nerves down a little bit, and it made me feel a lot safer. And that's when it was much easier to talk to him. And I actually question him, what's the shortest verse in the Bible and things like that, just to find out where he was and to make sure that he wasn't, pulling my leg.
What denomination was I?
Yes.
And I shared with her that I don't have a denomination, that I have a relationship, that I'm not religious. That really perked her ears up.
Yes. And he had all the right answers. Just all the right answers. And then when he came to the door, I'll never forget that. And the hours we spent on the phone. I still don't know how we would talk for so many hours to get to know each other. I didn't know any two people could talk that long. And
we were talking about this yesterday, as a matter of fact, and we still have not run out of things to talk about.
No, we haven't. It just amazes me. It's just, and it can be such minute things. It just doesn't even make sense to me. We just talk about everything and nothing.
That's because both of us have so much useless knowledge that we'll never use with anybody else. So it has to be
very true.
Used on each other.
That is very true. And I do ask a lot of weird questions.
Yes.
And I don't know why, but I do. And
that's for sure.
Of course, he'll go trying to find them and look them up. And he challenges me.
No, we have Alexa.
But he does challenge me, and I challenge him. So that's really kind of cool. So he finally gets here, and I told him I have a laptop and it's in the box, and I really need to figure out how to program it. I'm literally computer illiterate, and I need to set my computer up. Is this something you can help me with? Oh, yeah, no problem. So
computer illiteracy in her that is a very big understatement, because trust me, with these podcasts that we're doing, it is a challenge sometimes.
Indeed it is.
Because she likes to click things, and she likes to click them fast, and I don't have a chance to see what it said before she's clicking and going to the next thing. And the next thing you know, you have Kalamazoo pulled up on the screen. But it's been fun, and I'll let her finish her story now.
Well, it's true. That is very true. There's no telling what I'll get into on the computer, because I want to get things done. I'm that person. So, never to say the least, I had this computer, and he came over. I opened the door, and I heard him say something. The dog was barking, because the dog would protect me. Like, you'd think I'd have a German Shepherd in this house. And of course, I didn't know. I knew he was a pastor from his bio and his resume. But you're still leery being a single person. So I had a gun taped to the table in the breakfast nook underneath the table. I had a gun hid in the dining room, a gun hid in the living room, and a gun hid in my bedroom. A girl can never be too safe.
I'm not going to comment on any of those.
So, never to say the least, he walks in. I open the door, and he said,
wow.
Yeah. And I didn't know what he said until yesterday, actually. So he says, wow. And the dog is barking at him. And he reaches down and pets the dog, and the dog just falls in love with him. He stops immediately. And Kingsley just doesn't like people. Kingsley will bark and bark and bark and bark and continue to bark. But Kingsley warmed right up to him, which I was very amazed. So he got past the dog. So that was step one.
That's what I said. Once I got past the dog, I knew I was in.
He did. And he came in, and of course, he stayed about 10-foot distance from me the whole time. He wouldn't even sit at the breakfast table with me. He stood a distance away and told me what to click on the computer screen to set my computer up. Second date, basically the same thing, stood afar, and he drove a lot of miles each way.
Wait a minute. Let's talk about our first date.
Okay.
We didn't go into any detail on that.
No, we didn't.
Our first date, I have been dying to go to a cowboy church.
That's true.
So I could experience what one was like.
That's true.
And our first date, we had planned to go to a cowboy church. And I've just had, the reason I like a cowboy church so much, I got to share this though, is there's no judgment at all whatsoever. We're not interested in what you look like, what you're wearing. I mean, if you wear a cowboy hat, great. If you wear overalls, great. I mean, that's just, if you want to wear a 3-piece suit, that's fine too. We're not going to judge you on what's on the outside. We're going to judge you by what's on the inside. We're not going to judge you at all. That's God's job.
That's right.
But we're going to look at what's on the inside and go from there.
That's exactly correct.
Anyway, we drive over to Spencer, Tennessee to go to this cowboy church. It's about a 45-minute drive. Now, mind you, I've already driven an hour and 15 minutes to get here. And then we drive another 45 minutes. So I thought, but we get to this place that's supposed to be a cowboy church, and I couldn't find anything churchy about it.
No.
And I just really did not feel safe at all. If you're a true believer in God and you walk the Christian walk and talk the Christian talk, God does give you discernment on certain things. And if it's not safe, he will let you know sometimes. So we drove around the building 3 times.
Yeah.
And then I said, no, this is not for us. I just don't feel safe here, and I'm not taking you into a place like this. So we left. And this was right before Christmas, a week before Christmas, actually.
It was the Sunday before Christmas.
So we went driving through Sevierville, Pigeon Forge, I don't think we went to Gatlinburg that night.
No, we didn't.
But anyway, we rode around probably another 2 hours.
Yeah.
Well, then we found out that both of us like riding through the country and looking at things. That's what we spent our Christmas Day doing.
Yeah.
But we like riding through the country and looking at different houses, barns, ranches, animals. And we found out how much we enjoyed doing that. So our first date was uneventful, but it was very eventful.
Exactly. And we talked a lot.
Yes, we did.
We talked a lot, and we looked at the Christmas lights, and it was it was very peaceful. That's a good way of putting it.
Our first Christmas was very peaceful, and it was very uncommercialized.
Yes, we didn't
did
exchange gifts.
No, we didn't exchange one gift other than each other.
We just talked.
Yeah, and we enjoyed each other very much.
And
Cindy swears that she fell in love with me on that day, but I say a different story, because we were hanging up one night. I think it was even after the 8-hour phone call. And she went to say, and she stopped. So that led to another 30-minute conversation about how you could fall in love with somebody without seeing them.
And he says he fell in love with me on the phone. And I must
That was the
admit,
only way I could drag it out of her.
And I must admit, I did fall in love with him on the phone.
But at any rate, she said it was the first date when she was holding my hand and touching my arm.
I think I knew.
Yeah.
I think I knew for sure then. Yeah.
But see, now just because I moved slow on the first 2 dates didn't matter.
First 3. The third date, you asked me for a kiss.
Okay.
And that was very sweet. I appreciated that.
But then I asked you to marry me.
Yes, you did.
And you said yes immediately.
And that was really weird, because that wouldn't come out of me. It was just, I don't know, that felt like, who said that moment? Like, how did that come out of me?
I don't know, but it did. And here we are.
And I was so surprised, because I was like, after you left, I can't be a pastor's wife. That can't happen. Who said yes? And I thought, oh, he can't mean that. We're not getting married. That's not real. But I guess it was. And like you said, here we are. But I would have never thought in a million years that I would find the love of my life by reading a bio, and that he liked everything that I like to do. He likes to fish.
We learned that later on.
Yeah. But talking to the phone.
Yeah, some. Not everything.
Right. But your curiosity was really built up when you saw me skinning an alligator.
Yes. Yes. I thought that was a Photoshop picture.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. There's no way she's standing there skinning an alligator.
I was.
I know. I believe it now.
And then when you got here.
Look, you don't have many wives that you buy a shotgun for Christmas, because that's what she wants. Okay. So that being said, I got a crossbow for Christmas.
There you go.
Because I am still a convicted felon, so I cannot own a gun, but I can own a 400 foot per second crossbow. At any rate, I guess the difference is because you can only load one arrow at a time, and with a shotgun, actually with a shotgun, she can put 5 shells in hers.
Yeah. But that's funny, because all of your other rights have been restored.
I know.
And what you did had nothing to do with a gun.
No, it didn't involve a gun.
And that's just so silly.
It was alcohol related.
Yeah.
But that's another story for another day.
That's very true. And then as we're, through this whole process, is what really was funny was when you came over, you realized, you looked at this house and it's sunshine yellow. The roof is leaking. And I inherited this house. The curtains were red. The bedroom curtains, which he hadn't seen till much later, were striped like a circus, red, yellow, and green.
Whenever you'd walk into the bedroom, you'd feel like
the shower in the master bath the subfloor, evidently there's pipes leaking and it was getting ready to fall through. They said I was lucky I didn't fall into the crawl space.
Crawl space.
There was a hole under the stove. I couldn't leave the stove that was here in here because it would have caught fire. So when they moved the stove, there was this giant hole which mice were coming through from the subfloor. The dryer, when I brought the dryer in, I couldn't hook it up because there was no heat pipe to hook it to. So the dryer was just blowing hot air through the house. And then the vents for the air conditioner weren't even connected under the house.
We didn't know that till much later.
It
had a humidifier attached to the ductwork underneath the house, and it fell out because it rusted.
It was so bad.
So there was a gaping hole in the ductwork. We didn't know. I mean, we were cooling the neighborhood pretty well.
Yeah, and the lights would flash off and on in the breakfast nook because the wiring was messed up, and then the outside outlet was connected to the kitchen outlet, so it would keep blowing. I mean, it was like nothing you've ever seen. And it was sunshine yellow with black countertops. It was frightening. And I mean,
we have pictures to prove it if you want to see that.
The weeds were as tall as a 2-story home on the side of the house.
Part. You already had it cleaned up.
That part I got cleaned up. It was really bad. So here I am trying to get some of it done. And he's sitting here looking at the curtains in the living room. So I had come in to make a dinner, and I think this was right around Christmas. I was cooking. Christmas. It was right after Christmas, and I started making a meal, and all of a sudden I had ordered these blinds for the house, and I laid them standing up in the living room because I was going to try and put them up or call the handyman, and he couldn't take looking at these curtains anymore. I mean, they were just red. I'm talking so red. Next thing I know, my blinds are up. I was so excited just to see white that I couldn't take it. I just knew right then I was the happiest person in the whole wide world. It was the littlest things. But it took a good year, over a year, to get this house put together and fix everything.
Which really isn't that long when you stop and look at everything we've done.
Oh, I know. And it took a lot. It was a lot. But, if you
There's
can
still
survive,
a few odds and ends that have to be done, but that's, for the most part, it's livable. And we, when I say odds and ends, I mean like the electrical outlets, switches, face plates, all that need to be changed out upstairs, and that's all that's left.
Yeah.
There's only a handful of them.
But we basically rebuilt this entire home while living in it on our first year of marriage.
Yes.
And that's worse than building a house. And we survived it, and it was good.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is we can do anything.
Yeah. We're fixing to find out.
Yes, we are. We are.
Cindy, her vision is that we have some type of shelter. Just trying to see how I can put this. Some way to help women that have been in battered situations, that are homeless, and children also that are displaced. So her little program in the wintertime is called Warmth for Women and Coats for Kids that we sew into. And I would like to have a cowboy church regardless. So we're planning on doing the shelter and the cowboy church together.
Yes. And I'd like to do the cowboy church first so that maybe we can actually use that as, as a twofold thing and a place for them to drop the coats off and the everything else. But the cowboy church, and I think people need to understand our vision for the cowboy church. A barn on acreage would be fine because at the end of the day, we want to bring back what kids need to learn and keep them off the street.
Yes.
Like get a fake cow and let the smaller kids learn to lasso it while they're still learning the Bible and Sunday school lessons. And the teenagers, let them plow the fields and let them grow the gardens and sell the produce after they give back to the people of the church. And, I think those things are important, but they're still learning Bible lessons as they go along, but they also do missionary work locally to help the elderly people. And then the older people are, learning lesson plans and learning about the Bible and talking about the Bible and teaching the youth and doing things right there in the barn. But every
Yes.
day, that we do have service, or when we have service, they belly up to a wagon, and have dinner and campfires and,
Chuck wagon.
chuck wagon. Yeah. And, sometimes they have tents out during the spring or fall for the kids and spend the night and open
Well,
campfires. And
if we have to start with a pole barn, that's fine. But
right,
I want something eventually that we can keep open year round.
exactly, like a permanent structure. We have to start somewhere.
Yes, we do. And with that being said, I just learned a valuable lesson here lately anyway. But we are completely legal. We
Yes.
are filed, our articles of incorporation have been filed with the state of Tennessee. So we legally have the name Hearts of Hope LLC. We are also legally a 501c3 through the IRS. So we are able to accept donations and they're tax deductible, fully tax deductible. With that being said, though, I thought I had to buy a charter for my church, for our church. And I know I'd done this back in Florida years ago, and I thought I was great. Come to find out, we asked Alexa the other day what it takes to be how do we get a charter for a church? So Alexa informs me that you have to have the Articles of Incorporation and a 501c3. So we're done. But I just can't believe how stupid I was. I was fixing to have to pay for a church charter again.
And we do have our bylaws.
We do have our bylaws. We have our rules, basically, our bylaws and our statement of faith and all that stuff. We're good to go, I think, on that
Yes.
side of it.
And we plan on starting some classes here locally.
We do, yes. We actually talked to a library yesterday.
Yes.
They're supposed to call us back and find out some more details of what we want to do. We're going to start with the mainly Gary Chapman books with the 5 apology languages and then going into the 5 love languages.
Yes.
But anyway, I know it doesn't really have anything to do with today's podcast, but in a way it does.
Yes, because we actually did that as part of our marriage.
What's that?
When we did the 5 love languages and the 5 apology languages.
Right.
It was important for us.
I think the most important thing that we did was the 3-chord marriage.
I agree. Because we put God first.
Which you never even heard of.
No, I didn't hear of it before. And I think that's the other thing that really, really touched my heart is that I got married in a church. That was very important to me. I married not just the love of my life, but I got married in a church with God.
Yes.
And I did the 3-chord marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I love God first. And then I love my husband.
If you don't know what the 3-chord marriage is, go to Ecclesiastes 4 and it tells you the whole thing about 3-chord marriage and how 2 are better than 1. And, if you're cold in the wintertime, 2 can provide heat and 1 can't. But mainly with the 3-chord marriage being 1 chord is the God, 1 chord is the husband, and 1 chord is the wife. And they're intertwined together, braided together. So it just means that we have God in our marriage every day, constantly, 24 hours a day.
And we have that cord hanging up next to our marriage certificate.
With the prayer next to it.
Yes.
But it's always been very touching to me. And I was a little shocked that she didn't understand or had never heard of what it was. Because she's from Florida as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually seen it performed one time and it was just very touching. So.
It was a very beautiful, beautiful wedding. You cried through the whole thing.
No, I didn't.
And you drove those women crazy. I thought those women at church were going to kill you.
At any rate.
He was up for 2 days.
Yeah, I couldn't sleep.
He didn't think I was going to come.
No.
To marry him. He thought I was going to stand him up.
If you've ever looked at something and say, oh, that is too good to be true, then you understand what I'm talking about.
I don't believe that.
I just never, I told her I don't know, probably the third or fourth date, girls like you just don't go out with guys like me. And I don't think she still understands what I'm saying to this day.
No.
But she thinks I'm hot. So
You are hot.
I'll just leave it at that. I mean, it is taking me the best of the year to learn that she really loves me to pieces. And I guess it's because both of us come from very bad backgrounds as far as marriages go. And
We're not used to hearing it every day.
No, I was married 2 times before her, and both marriages really were not great.
Same here.
One was for 20 years, but the last 8 years, it wasn't a marriage. As like Cindy shared with her, living in separate rooms and all that. I mean, it just wasn't. So basically, when I moved to Tennessee, I didn't realize I was moving to Tennessee to get divorced, but I did. And here I am with my love of my life.
We were both blessed. We really were. And what were you looking for in a woman?
I wanted a Proverbs 31 woman. I wanted a godly woman. And when I say Proverbs 31, don't take it literally, guys, because she cannot sew.
But I can cook.
Yeah, what she lacks in sewing, she makes up for in the cooking department. Trust me. I've definitely not eaten fast food.
No, you haven't.
Not since December of 24. Well, one time we did stop and grab breakfast real quick because we were going out somewhere, vacation or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, she has really turned my health around. We eat balanced diets every day.
We do.
She has some gastro problems. Oh, and that was another thing too. When we were talking and communicating, she was sending me pictures of her back and x-rays and so forth, trying to scare me off. She tried everything she could do to scare me off.
I did. I knew that he would just go away if I would scare him off and tell him, I'm just a wreck. You don't want to take me on, no.
But I did.
But he did. I've had so many back surgeries. I just figured, yeah, you don't want this.
Well, I was definitely afraid of her getting hurt, but it didn't happen. So,
no.
And it's like we talked about that yesterday as well. I mean, her back may be stronger than mine. I don't know. I've had a lot of health issues though in the last year, and it's suppressed us from doing a lot of stuff we should have been doing. We both love to hike, but I've not been able to hike over a half a mile yet because of hips, and which I guess the hip thing was a fortunate blessing.
It was.
Because when they did x-rays, the orthopedic doctor came back to me and she said, I'm not supposed to see veins in my x-rays, but I see your veins and there's a lot of calcification there. Well, come to find out, I had a 3-inch block in my left femoral artery that I just had removed 2 days before Thanksgiving. And they thought they were going to keep me in the hospital past Thanksgiving, but that didn't work.
No, it didn't.
I was home for Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, he was ready to break out of the hospital. He was very adamant about it. But I spent the night there with him in my Grinch pajamas.
She did.
And he was very fortunate because that was his 3rd surgery. That was
an actual surgery.
Yes.
But I had 2 procedures.
Yeah. They were outpatient surgeries.
Yeah.
But the one was a 99.9% blockage, which he also almost ended up at the hospital with. And then the last one that they kept him at the hospital, they said it's a wonder he didn't go to his heart or his brain and have an aneurysm. So he's very fortunate to be alive and still here with us.
God's got a plan, guys.
That's right.
Anyway, so needless to say, between my medical issues and her problems that she's had in the past, we pretty much see doctors, I don't know, 2 times a week.
We live at the doctors, but that's part of getting old.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, I've had so many shots in my back in the last year and things that I just didn't even know about.
You never took care of yourself.
No, I didn't. I was never first place.
You don't have to be first. We just take care of each other.
But
you're as important as I am.
I don't know. We both know that. I don't think I've missed but maybe 2 of her doctor's appointments.
Yeah.
So needless to say, with the medical issues, that also created financial issues, and we had some tough times.
Yeah.
For it to be the love of our lives, we still had some challenges and some hurdles to overcome, and that's where she was going with the 5 love languages and the 5 apology languages. Is if we didn't go through those 2 courses or whatever, we would probably be separated or divorced by now.
Yeah, because a lot of people can't go through rebuilding a home, living in it, knowing how to apologize, and knowing what your love language is so that you can communicate clearly. You know, I truly believe that every couple should have a counselor to keep the marriage strong.
Yes.
Even if they touch it base just twice a year.
Quarter.
Yeah, once a quarter, twice a year, whatever it is. I think that it's very important.
You need a toolbox.
You need a toolbox, because without a toolbox, you can't fix the problem.
And I don't mean going down to Home Depot or Lowe's and buying a toolbox.
That's exactly right.
It's just you find out what works and you keep it away, store it away.
That's right.
That's what I mean by toolbox.
Exactly.
We found some things that work. We found some things that didn't work, and we took them out of our toolbox and got rid of them.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, irregardless, we sleep in the same bed.
That's right. And
we say prayers every night in bed. We read a psalm every night in bed. Sometimes Cindy will share a Proverbs with us too in bed. Mm-hmm. But we always end our day on a high note. We don't ever end it on arguing or anything like that.
And every morning we wake up and we do 3 devotionals, and we do communion, and we pray over every meal. And
if we happen to forget a psalm the night before because we fell asleep or something like that, then we'll read it at the breakfast table.
That's right. And I think the biggest thing is that I've learned is I have to feel vulnerable in order to feel valued. And I think
you have to feel vulnerable in order to make me feel valued.
Yes. I
have to do the same thing.
Exactly. I think that's the most important thing.
But I think probably our biggest tool we have in our toolbox is the breakfast table.
Yes. It is the breakfast table.
Anytime we start getting a little sideways, one of us calls time out and we immediately go to
the breakfast
table. And that is our safe space. That is, you're not allowed to get defensive. You're not allowed to get argumentative. You're not allowed to get, what's the other word? Combative, aggressive.
You just have to be able to talk.
Yeah, you just have to talk and communicate. Communication is a big, big, big thing.
One person at a time.
Yes.
Listen, active listening.
And then reflect on what the other person said.
And
reflect it back to them, what they said, so that they know that you
heard them.
Anyway, we got way off base on this one, didn't we?
Yeah, but that's really how our marriage has worked.
It is. I think because of your past that you were very...
I was so single.
You were very independent.
Very independent.
Because you were single so long.
Right.
Technically legally not single, but...
Right, but I was doing everything on my own.
Yes.
So it was very hard to accept somebody in my space.
Yes. But because of your past also, I think you were a little skeptical of me.
Yes.
That you just figured all men were like this.
Yes.
And I kind of figured all women were like this. And,
mm-hmm.
Because both of us did come from very bad marriages.
We both had walls up.
Yes. We were actually both cheated on.
We both had to be vulnerable.
Yes. Yes.
Our past has had all kinds of bad things in them.
Going through my divorce up here left me in a very bad financial situation.
But you've overcome that.
Yeah, but I mean, at first, that was probably the biggest thing that you were mad at me about, is because I didn't divulge my whole financial situation.
Yes. But that's how we learn to communicate.
Yes. And we learned some tools as far as like Mondays is for talking about money, which we got away from for a long time, but we talked yesterday about implementing that again.
I think that we can just talk about it anytime though now.
We can, but I mean, I think we maybe need to sit down and just discuss where we at.
Exactly.
she has opened up tremendously as far as letting me take over some of the finances or all of the finances because they stress her out so much. And I think I'm doing an okay job at it. I don't know.
So far, so good.
Well, they can't take the house away from us. We know that.
We know that it's paid for.
But I have been able to get back into working now. I'm a realtor and seems to be doing well so far.
Yes,
God's blessed us tremendously.
absolutely.
I started with a real estate agent or a real estate agency over in Knoxville, and I was very upbeat at first, and then I found out that it was not for me. So then I changed to where I'm at now at Teleco Realty in Lenore City, and I got half the drive, and Cindy's just much happier the way I come home every day. And now, of course, like I said, the last week I've not been able to do anything with my right hip this time.
But
we think we're ahead of the game now.
oh yeah,
I'm
you've done really well there.
trying to think. What I did have a thing last week that was very exciting for me because a lady contacted me through email, and she said that they read my biography on the real estate website and really liked what they seen and knew that we could be friends and that I was the realtor for them.
Yeah.
I was so excited. I mean, I was beside myself. Now, they're not people that are going to jump right away and buy something, but they told me what they wanted. I've sent them some properties to look at, and this just been very upbeat this week.
It has. But you are that guy in the cowboy hat that wears the cowboy boots. You are that person.
What is it? I forget what it says on my business card.
Straight shooter.
Straight shooting realtor with a shepherd's heart. That's what
right.
it is. Because I don't withhold the pastor part. I tell everybody that I talk to that I'm a pastor. All my mailers that go out say I'm a pastor, and there's no sense in hiding it. I mean, yeah, that's my job one day a week, but then I got 6 other days that I have to work. But anyway, God has really gotten me excited. When I met Cindy, my convictions, I guess I should say, they were in the toilet. I mean, I was really mad at God. And I was very hesitant to even say I was a pastor. And that made her so angry.
It did. Because he would find me at the table every, 2 a.m, 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Studying my Bible.
But here lately, the conviction has really come back on me in a force.
A big force.
We've been studying Acts on a thing called Drive-Through History, which is phenomenal. We just went through the Gospels. She did the Gospels. I didn't really participate. I watched the shows with her, but I didn't participate like she does. And there are actually courses online that you can sign up for. I think they're about $90 a thing. But it's called Drive-Through History. And
it is really good.
Website, drivethroughhistory.com. But check it out. I think you would like it.
Yeah, it's really good.
The guy really explains it. Cindy and I are both kind of simple people sometimes, so we have to have us really be hit upside the head with a frying pan, and this guy does. So.
Yeah, and he brings you right to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Mount of Olives, everywhere.
We sit here, we do communion every day, and we actually read the verse after the communion part that says that they went to the Mount of Olives. They sang a hymn and went to the Mount of Olives. Well, until we watched this show, Cindy didn't really realize how far the Mount of Olives was from the upper room.
I was amazed. So,
yeah, you got to go from Jerusalem through the Kidron Valley and then up through the Garden of Gethsemane to the Mount of Olives. And she's like, so now we understand why they sang the hymn was Psalm 115 through 118.
And I was like, wow, no wonder why they were singing so long.
Yeah.
I mean, and they had to have some quiet time there too.
Yeah.
So that kind of amazed me.
What else?
I think that really tells a lot. You got anything else? If anybody has any questions about how we met, feel free to let us know. We'll be more than happy to answer them. And I hope the listener that asked, we answered your questions.
Yes.
But a lot of prayer. It was a lot of God that put us together. It was God ordained, without a doubt.
Yep.
I have no doubt about that, because if it wasn't for the prayers that I wrote down, from the cowboy hat to the cowboy boots to the corduroy jacket with the patches to the salt and pepper hair to a godly man that loved God more than he would love his wife, to everything. And he even said he wanted somebody that looked totally opposite than anybody he had ever been with.
And we fit.
And we do.
We're both 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
And just everything just fits.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to explain it, but just everything fits perfectly. We put our arms around each other, it fits. We hold hands, it fits. We kiss, it fits.
It's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, we both can be reached. I have an email called troy@justprayoveritt.org, O-R-G, and hers is Cindy@justprayoveritt.org. And we both have phone numbers. If you have any of our information online, it's all there. We do have a website that's under construction right now, but it's www.faithhopeministry.com. And that'll have all our information on it, how to get a hold of us as well. And it'll give you the progress of the ministry and how it's moving forward. It ain't going backwards this time. Like I said, I started churches in Florida, and I just get so upset with the way these basic denominations but the way they treat people. I mean, all it is about numbers. How many baptisms did you have last year? Oh, I had 755 baptisms. Yeah, but how many disciples did you make?
That's right.
Do you think Satan attacks you on a daily basis? Sure. Does he attack us? Probably more so, because once you become a Christian, you done made Satan very angry, because he lost one of his children. That guys, Satan don't love you. Satan don't like you. He hates you. He wants to kill you.
Yeah.
And Cindy and I have been talking even this morning about how we have the choice. We can either go to heaven or we can go to hell. That's our choice. That's not God's choice, because God's already told us in his word that he doesn't want any of us to perish.
He wants the sinner to come forward more than
yes, he does.
More than anything.
But anyway, to get back on track about the church thing and the denomination thing, Cindy and I both feel, and this has been since day one of us getting together in our talks, is you bring somebody to church, you get them to the altar, they say the sinner's prayer, a week later you baptize them, and then what do you do with them? Do you just leave them there to flounder? I mean, that's been my experience with what we do there.
That's the worst part.
It is. And I didn't really mean to turn this into a salvation message, but that's our job. Yeah. That really is our job. Everybody's job, not just a pastor. Everybody that's sitting in that church, it is your job, because Jesus told you to go and make disciples of all nations.
And they're not discipling the new people.
The new converts.
They're not. And they are the ones that are the hungriest.
Yes. They're the ones that's more susceptible to be attacked, because they don't know how to fight off the fiery darts.
Exactly.
They don't know how to put the armor of God on, because they have not been taught yet.
Exactly. And they don't even know where to go to in the Bible. And if they open the Bible and they go straight to Genesis and they start trying to read the Bible straight through, they're not going to survive.
It ain't going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Most churches send you to John. I don't even know where I'll tell you to go start reading in the Bible. Just read the Bible. I agree with Cindy. You can't really start in the Old Testament. That's for history for us, because if you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it.
I started in the New Testament and started from the beginning.
Well,
and I think that was really helpful, because
Matthew is very important, because it has the Beatitudes in chapter 5.
Exactly. And it really kind of set the stage for John.
Yeah.
So when
you want to learn how to love, then go to John.
Exactly. Exactly. But it really did. And that's kind of how I kind of went through everybody that I've worked with, and it just kind of helped, because it helped them understand the Bible a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then after they were done with the New Testament, we went into.
And Matthew, if you read from Matthew all the way through John, the Gospels, you will find out that it's very repetitive, except for John.
Exactly.
So it really drives it into you. And each Gospel, each Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they each have a different perspective on something. Mm-hmm. Luke focuses more on the birth.
Yes.
Matthew, I think, focuses more on Jesus's lineage, how he got from David to Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and if you have hangups and problems, just feel free to email us. Or you could text us anytime. My phone number is 865-748-5866. Cindy's is 865-607-9720.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She just had her number changed, so I'm still learning it. But I don't think she's ever learned my phone number.
They have it stored in there, so I know that I don't have to.
She just says, call hubby Troy.
That's right. And reality is, I have, and this is very important for people to know, I have a learning disability. And I have no problem admitting that out loud now. And I hid it for many, many years. So the King James Version is very difficult for me, but I still use it now to reference to help learn.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first year, actually, I'm using 3 Bibles or 2 Bibles. 3 to work with.
We both have an ESV study Bible that is fascinating.
And then I've got a King James Version.
It's a life application
Bible. And then I'm using the
Christian Standard
Bible. And the Christian Standard Bible is really helping me understand the King James Version.
Yes.
So,
and it's an accurate translation. It's more plain everyday English like we speak versus the these and the thous and the thys and all that stuff,
But it's helping me tremendously.
Restoreth my soul. It just, nothing against the King James. It's very beautiful. It's very poetic.
It is.
But we're using it in conjunction with 2 other translations to help us understand better.
Yes.
I think this morning she was reading the Psalm and it had what was it? It said covetous.
Yes.
The covetous person. Then when we went to another translation, it basically said evil. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, a covetous person is a jealous person, and they're coveting what their neighbor has or something like that. So it meant more to me coming out of the CSB because it said an evil person.
That's right.
So now I know that this person is evil because it also said that is who God abhorreth. See, I have a problem.
So how would, sometimes the youth even
yes
is getting lost.
Yes.
And if I were youth, I would have probably stayed in church if I could have understood it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we lose a lot of people.
And well, I think we lose a lot of people because we don't have good teachers.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
If we have a good teacher that can sit down and take the King James Version and use the King James Version, but give them the CSB.
And make it come alive.
Yes.
Then you're having fun.
Yes.
Yes.
And you have their attention.
Yes, I agree.
That's the biggest thing.
That is fun then.
I guess we've taken up enough time for you guys today. Wow.
Yeah.
This is the longest podcast we've ever done.
Absolutely.
We do have, I don't know if it's still available on Facebook on Hearts of Hope or not, where we did the live and we were talking about the correct way to apologize.
I don't remember. I don't know if it's still live or not. Some of those fell off.
I know.
So we may have to do another one.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you want to try to find it, it was called The Correct Way to Apologize. And we actually did it at a little vacation place that we like to go to in Pigeon Forge. Mm-hmm. They call the Inn on the River, and it has a fireplace. And we sat in the dining area and had the computer facing the fireplace. And it was
It was in February.
Yeah. It was very scenic. And
it was really a very good podcast.
It was. We did it just like this, right off the cuff. And no script, no notes.
We just rolled with it.
So I'm hoping that what we've said today has piqued your interest about either enhancing the marriage you're in right now, or if you're in a bad marriage. I mean, it is okay to get out of it and try to find your love of your life.
As long as you have exhausted all means.
Yes.
Please don't just leave a marriage for
and both reason. Of you have to be open to counseling.
Yes.
Both of you have to be open to God.
Yes.
The Bible even speaks of being unequally yoked.
Yes.
And I think both Cindy and I have experienced that in the past. We were not equally yoked.
Very true.
And that's part of the reason I think my church in Florida failed. Other than that, I mean, any advice you guys need, if you need any counseling, I mean, I am a pastor.
And he has a certificate in counseling.
Cindy's a very good pastor's wife, and she's very down to earth and common sense. And
are you sure? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes a person from the outside looking in to identify the problem. And you'll be like, what?
That's very true. And don't forget to love yourself first.
Yes.
And forgive yourself first, which is the hardest thing to do.
Forgive the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
Love the man in the mirror.
Yes.
Or woman in the mirror.
And then the rest is easier. Michael
Jackson had a good song that we were puzzled. We were watching a movie yesterday, and it was actually in this Christian movie called The Man in the Mirror.
That's right.
And I told Cindy that there was an actual man's group out there called Man in the Mirror. And I think I've got a book upstairs called Man in the Mirror.
How interesting is that?
But that is, that's the most important person in your life, really.
That's right. Once you do that, then you can move forward.
Well.
And it's really hard. Trust me, it's really, really hard.
Well, God can't forgive you if you don't forgive others, including yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It has to start with you, though.
Yep, it does have to start with you. And if any of you are interested in becoming a Christian and living the good life, give us a call, text, email. Both the numbers that we put online were cell phones, so they can be texted. Let's see, what else?
I think you need to pray us out.
Okay.
All right.
And always hold hands when you pray. It's very
important.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today, Father, and we just thank you for the ability to do this, Father, the ability to touch others, Father, the ability to show others you. And I pray that what we've said today, what we've done today has glorified you, and that others can see you through us, so that maybe we can bring some more sheep to the flock, Father. We know that Jesus went after that one and left the others standing there, left the 99 standing there, but he went after that one because that one is just as important as the 99 are, if not even more. But Father, we pray for each and every soul listening today, Father, that their heart has been pricked and that they'll want to renew their convictions with you, Father, that they'll want to come to you if they're not already there, and just enjoy a good life. We know that it's not easy to be a Christian. We're going to be persecuted. Jesus told us that before he left us, that we will be persecuted. But he said, lo, I leave you a comforter. He left the Holy Spirit to live inside of each and every one of us believers, to guide our life and direct us and give us discernment and give us direction, and to read his word, because it's a lamp unto our pathways. So, Father, I ask you to bless each and every soul today. And I thank you for all that you've done. I thank you for all that you're going to do in advance. In Jesus' name we pray this. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much for listening. And this is Cindy and Troy Shaw, Pastor Troy Shaw, signing off from Just Pray Over It.